Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dan Tortora as well as Jason Leone here with us. We are inside of the Cafe Kubal podcasting headquarters here at Kubal Co-works on 208 North Townsend Street in Syracuse, New York. Right above the cafe, we have this private kind of, intimate experience to do the show. So happy to have you, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely, and I see that you're rocking the correct gear. You got your Oswego on, and you can see here that we have the new WakeUpCall, the sun coming out of the coffee cup. So this is, we got to design this actually during the pandemic.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it's all over everything now, and what do you think? You feel
Love it. I think it'll be apropos for the weather we're supposed to get tomorrow,
Yeah.
So
I mean, this
forward thinking.
The weather's been all over the place for us, but happy to be here at Cafe Kubal. Of course, as you know, they are our studio partner. They're with us Monday through Friday from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and they are with us here on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, as well as on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. You can go to any one of their locations, including the one right below us on 208 North Townsend Street in Syracuse. And if you want to rent out space for your business, you want a little place to go and get some things done, you can come here to 208 North Townsend Street as well for Kubal Co-works and grab yourself some coffee, get something to eat, do your job, come up here and record a show and get it all done. So they're doing a lot for the community. And Jason, I think, more than anything, kind of going off of that the local businesses here have really pushed to stay. And I'm proud to say that places like Cafe Kubal have navigated through it, but they couldn't do it without the community.
Yeah, I think it's so important to support our local businesses. I'm really happy to be here today and, help you and, talk about our program, hopefully. And Cafe Kubal has been very generous here. Looking forward to my nice cup of coffee this morning.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I always get the chai, so I have the mint chai, but I want to give a shout out to, and I'll leave them unnamed so nobody knows exactly what it is, but after the fall, she saved me some pumpkin. And so I've been having pumpkin chai at Cafe Kubal for, I don't like 6 months after I was supposed to. So she's got a little secret stash. I'm not gonna out who it is, but I want to say thank you. So cheers to you, because I'll walk in and I'm like, I gotta get the chai, but I want pumpkin, and she's like, I saved some for you. So you got to know people.
That's right. You do have to know people. I'm a little embarrassed because all I'm getting is a decaf.
Yeah. No, the chai's different, and they obviously make everything here, and the flavor just tastes different. And I've tried to mess around with chai before, and not very happy with some of the other stuff that I've gotten, and then coming here was just a different feel. Their spices, everything they put in, it's really good. So
wonderful.
Wakes me up in the morning. So we are here to talk about a lot of things sports and life. We're here with Jason Leone, the Oswego State Lakers men's basketball head coach. You and I are typically talking, kudos to you on this, during tournament time. Your team seems to not ever like to end the season, which I love. And this year, the season was stopped without anybody's control. So how do you navigate that when you're normally in the driver's seat and you guys decide how far you go? This time around, it was decided for a lot of people in Division III.
Yeah, well, it's you certainly learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about managing people, and one of the things that last year when this hit, you kind of get a sense that maybe we weren't going to have a season. So, as a coach, we also double as problem solvers, right? So
yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, at this time last year, there was a distinct possibility we're not going to have a season. And you start to think and plan with your staff about, okay, how are we going to, keep proper perspective, but then also help to be there for our players. Because, typically when you're younger, you don't manage bad news sometimes as maturely as older people. So we kind of got a plan together on how we were going to navigate this. And we were pleasantly surprised with how well our guys handled, a litany of, kind of stub toes throughout this year, where you're looking forward to something. Okay, we're going to be able to do this. We're going to be able to do that. And for us, for no fault of anybody, it just didn't end up working out where we were able to play and compete. But, we had to remain patient, and we had to make sure people saw big picture here.
Yeah.
And that was really our focus, was maintaining lines of communication. For lack of a better term, maintaining fun within our program.
Yeah.
Making sure we laughed, making sure we kept in contact with one another. At one point, we're doing anything. We're playing Jeopardy on Zoom calls and anything to keep guys in a good mood and keep them feeling like, okay, we're not playing, but the reason I chose to come play for Coach Leone at Oswego is we do have this family atmosphere. And as you know, families, when times get tough, you stick together, and that was critical for us during this whole year.
Yeah, you talk about that, the importance of family and the importance of staying together. And, that has been such a key element really for any of us. And, some teams say that they're family, but you have to act like you are. How important, you're essentially the father of this family. So what do you put on yourself, especially in these moments? How did you develop as a father of the program, so to speak?
Well, I think going back to your core values, and one of the things, I always tell parents, and this time of year, we're getting close to getting commitments and have gotten some commitments from people. And one of the things I try to address is, look, I'm not going to tell you that I'm the very best basketball coach in the world, but what I have studied and what I do for a living is it revolves around relationship building.
Yeah.
So I think, anytime you're a dad or you're in a leadership position, the longer I do this, you have to be proficient in the technical areas of the sport, but especially when you coach in college, this element of relationship building and getting to know people is so critical. So in answer to your question, it's no different than when a player comes in as a freshman and he's 17, 18 years old. My responsibility is to each individual person in the program, assistants, managers, players, is to get to know them, figure out what motivates them, what makes them happy, and then my responsibility is to give them the very best experience possible based on what their needs are.
So you can poke your head in right here for a second. Mr. Matt Goddard making it happen here, the owner and operator of Cafe Kubal. You know that you must be somebody in the community when Matt brings your food to you. So thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. And thank you to everybody that's supporting Cafe Kubal the way that they are and everything that we're doing. And back open in Golisano, so appreciate that very much so, and as well as their locations on 3501 James Street, 208 North Townsend Street, where we are above the cafe in the podcasting headquarters, 401 South Salina Street, 324 West Water Street, and out in Manlius, right at the pinnacle, kind of where everything comes together in Manlius. They're at 343 Fayette Street. So I feel very special right now that we got our
I just want to make sure I grab the right food.
Did you get the right food? This is the everything. Okay, so we switch.
Okay, good.
So we're going to switch.
All right.
There we go. But, and like I said, back open at Golisano, which I'm very, very excited about because that's been closed since October due to the pandemic. They're able to open back up at Golisano's hospital. So it's really good, and I'm sure the workers will appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
So you were talking about, the aspect of family and being the father figure, and I don't want to cut you off from that. So
no, we just it's look at it. You get into a line of work. Nobody, you read about Spanish flu and things that went on 100 years ago, right? And pandemics and all that. You never ever think this could happen
to us
in your lifetime, right? So. And it did, and we're going through it, and things are getting better.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, trying to remind our players, okay, that we've been dealt a little bit of a blow not being able to compete, but let's keep in mind, there's people that have really suffered some hardships because of this, whether it's people that have lost their lives, from a financial perspective, we mentioned small businesses. This has been an incredible road for them as well.
Yeah.
So we're a small piece of this whole thing, but not to diminish the fact that, being an athlete, you get one chance to play college basketball. And probably other than my mom and dad, the experience that is really something I draw upon more than anything in my life was my experience playing sports.
Yeah.
So, that watching from a distance, that being, taken away this year, it's very tough to watch, and it was discouraging. But you can sit there and focus on that, or I continue to just try to look forward here, to next year.
Yeah, it's amazing how we, as people, and you can feel free to eat as we talk, but as we grow through society and we grow through times, it's you don't know how you're going to react until you're thrown into something. And for me, I've always wanted to be positive. And you go through those moments of negativity, you go through those moments of being down and kind of downtrodden and whatnot. And this whole year, the way that I handled it, I was really proud. You know what I mean? Like you got to find a way to be positive. And at the beginning of it, I was going through stuff in my life personally, and then the pandemic hits and they kind of hit each other. And in that moment, in kind of that like last March, April time, it was, okay, well, what am I going to do with my life? And then as my life felt like it was kind of spinning out of control, the world started spinning. And at that point, I could have spun and seen the world spin and spun twice as fast out of control. And what I ended up doing is I ended up walking. I ended up praying more to God. I ended up talking things through, really working on my mind, my mental, and it changed everything. So I could say that this past year has challenged us all. It's challenged me as a business owner. It's challenged me as a son. It's challenged me as a friend. It's challenged me, as someone who wants to be a dad and a husband someday and all of that. But at the same time, it also brought out the best in me. So that baptism by fire and diamonds, having to, really be, in order to get a diamond, that pressure, that reality is so real to me. So like you said, you can focus on the negative, but as much as the world was kind of in pain this year, I tried to heal through that scar instead of scraping at it. And I think that I know that it changed my life. So as much as this year was so difficult for so many people, me included in my own way, it made me better. And I guess what I'm really getting at here is you think you'll be positive, you think you'll know how to react when what hits the fan, but when it hits the fan, you have to decide. And, personal life, world hitting the fan at the same time, this is when I really got my strongest mentally and I got my strongest physically, and I, really leaned on God more than anything. So I think that, to me, this year taught me that I could do all the things that I didn't think I could do a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, it's great perspective. Everybody has different coping mechanisms and who they turn to and what they turn to sometimes.
Yeah.
So identifying those things is certainly a problem-solving mechanism that everybody should subscribe to.
Yeah, and finding that positivity. And I had never seen Game of Thrones, so I had about 3 months worth of stuff to do during the pandemic because I had kept myself, I don't know how I did it, because I have Superpowered Pop, which you can all check out at Superpowered Pop on all the social media and superpoweredpop.com. And that entertainment show is roped around shows like Game of Thrones, and I go to Comic-Cons and I cover stuff. And somehow going to New York City for Comic-Con for 5 straight years, I blocked it all out. I knew winter is coming, and I knew Jon Snow, that's it, and I knew that there were dragons. And I somehow just earmuffed the whole thing. And then at the beginning of the pandemic, I had all this stuff to watch. Nobody had killed it for me. Nobody had told me what happened. And I got to enjoy it. So as everybody was like, what do I watch? I was like, I want to watch Game of Thrones for the first time. And I got just as pissed as the people that watched it in real time because the ending is terrible. But what did you watch? Is there anything that you tried to watch during the pandemic?
I didn't. I got into a routine of working out with my wife.
Yeah.
Back when it first started, she had me doing these workout videos with her, and that, although we had some fun with it together, she's, I found out how much stronger she is than I am. So
I gotta show that. That's good stuff right there. I got the breakfast sandwich because you got the breakfast sandwich. I was thinking about it, and then I'm like, now I want to try it.
I'm a big breakfast sandwich guy. So
your wife
can tell by my weight. So, yeah. So I started doing that, but more. We were trying. I'm not like a big watching like a series of shows guy. My wife got into a couple of those things on Netflix and all that.
Yeah.
You know, I did some exercising. I played a lot of golf. I mean, I do that normally anyways, but I really played a lot of golf last year.
Yeah.
I mean, because there was no going to the office. I didn't have camps. I couldn't recruit. So it was like,
What do you do?
yeah, I went and walked the golf course. At one point, I had lost close to 20 pounds just walking the golf course every day. You know, I put some of that back on, as you could tell. But yeah, I didn't get into like a thing. I got into, you know what I did watch? When the thing on the Chicago Bulls came out, the 30 for 30.
Oh, yeah, The Last Dance.
Yeah, that was very good. I enjoyed that. You know, we got onto these things like you know, Zooms and House Party and all this stuff like that. You can go and everybody's on the same screen and we're talking. We had a family kind of happy hour every Friday over Zoom. That was kind of fun. And then
That's nice.
we had a game. We had a couple times we did like a game night, a couples game night over Zoom.
Yeah.
Where we kind of did that. You know, had a couple piles of wine and did that, and that was fun too. So
That seems pretty. That's like very innovative. That I think is awesome to have like a family to have a happy hour. So every week, you know, Friday from 4 to 5, we're all getting on the call together. Like that's.
well, we all have young children, so I probably shouldn't call it happy hour. It's more like 8, 9 o'clock at night. You know, when the kids were starting to wind up. But still, yeah,
Still,
we were happy. You know, so
that is cool though. You get everybody on screen and. You know, and because you think about it, even with people like out of town, how often do you talk to them? How often do you see them on screen? So I think I actually kind of want to copy and paste that idea, you know, to have a little happy hour with the friends. Because we did, my college friends, that hard to believe we've been friends for 17 years, but we all got on the call. And the weirdest thing is like, do you know Boy Meets World, I'm guessing? The TV show? Okay, you don't. Well, on Boy Meets World, there's Corey and Topanga. And Corey like wants to be in love from when he's like 4 years old, wants to meet somebody in the sandbox, be done. That was me. All my friends are married for the most part, all of them except for one of them, but she's been dating this guy forever. So we're all on the call and like the Grown Ups movie with Adam Sandler and all them. I'm essentially David Spade now, which I never thought I would be David Spade. So we got Brandon on the call. We had Brandon, Kirsten, John, Irina, Steve. And Jenna usually wasn't on the call. She was working because her schedule was crazy. But Steve and Jenna, and then I would be on. And so it was just kind of funny. But we all talked. We were on for like an hour, couple hours, talking about everything, like playing jokes on each other. And I thought to myself, like, if not for the pandemic, you know, would some people do this? We did it because we wanted to have like a reunion. But you doing that and having like a happy hour and a game night, I think in all the craziness, that probably is something a lot of people got excited to like hop on and do.
Yeah, I mean, like cool. There was, you know, at that point we were in the middle of this where you couldn't gather inside people's homes, you know. So it's not just like you're gonna just not see or talk to your friends, you know. And
right.
People were really, I mean, if you remember at the beginning of this, people were just so out of sorts, and that like,
yeah,
you couldn't do anything. There's no bars, no restaurants. No games, no sports to watch on TV, and it's just like you're stir crazy, and it's just like, okay, like we got to be creative here.
No NCAA tournament.
No.
Did you ever think there'd be a world without the NCAA tournament?
No, and you know, admittedly so, you know, when the whole thing first started, it's more of a disbelief rather than disrespect of the virus, and people have lost their lives. In no way, shape, or form when this started did I think. I mean, I remember we sent our students home, I think it was like March 11th or in that week there, and some of the schools within the SUNY system were like, okay, we're going to reevaluate in 2 weeks and have you back after spring break.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, I don't think anybody foresaw. I mean, how could they? I mean,
right, we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It was kind of everybody to themselves in the sense of like, do you go to the grocery store at all? Do you order groceries to go? Do you go once a week? Do you go once every 2 weeks? And there was a system that I kind of created with my little tiny bubble in the beginning. And our like little bubble system was that we were going to go to the grocery store every 2 weeks, and we were going to go together. And once we went, we picked up everything we needed. In those 2 weeks, we picked up almost like a month's worth of food, respectfully. I mean, we weren't the people that took like every piece of toilet paper and ridiculous. Unless they're eating it, I don't know what they did with it. So we would get what we needed every couple weeks and then not have to worry about it. So if we went every 2 weeks, maybe it could last us 3 weeks, whatever it may be. But that was the way I tackled it in the beginning. I wasn't afraid to go out, but we were very purposeful about when we went out, how minimal places we went to, and what we were getting. So to get a lot in a small trip and then call it a day. And really that was it. It was, it was home, do the show in my studio, grocery store, that was it. And walk my dog.
Yeah, I mean,
which is hard to believe that that's like all we were doing. So.
Yeah, you certainly learn life in its simplest form, So, but look, we're moving forward now, so it's nice that we're getting back to some semblance of interacting with people in public places and
seeing people's faces again. You can see our faces on the screen right now, so that's good.
So all that,
seeing smiles. Do you ever play the game with yourself? Because I'm horrible at it. I'm trying to guess what somebody looks like under the mask. I'm 100% wrong 100% of the time.
That's funny.
Really
no,
bad.
I haven't done that, but I think that would be kind of a fun thing to do, I guess.
I'm so wrong. I realize that seeing somebody's, I know nothing. If I see it from here, I mean, I want to hope that I would know my friends' faces. But
I definitely, last week I was taking my daughters to lunch at Panera.
Yeah.
And we pulled the car in, and my mother had just gotten back from visiting my sister in the Washington, D.C. area. And there's a little store next to the Panera that I know she goes into every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I looked in the window, and obviously this woman had a mask on, but she looked from the side very much like my mother. To the point where, like, I walked in the store and would have been a surprise that we ran into each other.
Right.
I was going to walk into the store and say hello, and then I said, she's got a mask on, you better make sure before you tap some random person on the shoulder.
And hug
sure
them
enough,
and say, Mom.
Sure enough, I walked around and said, oh, that's not her.
Yeah.
Walked right back out.
You don't know anymore. You really, like, it's crazy to think that, I mean, everybody, and the thing is, when I wear certain masks, I have my Cafe Kubal in here, certain ones that I wear, I look like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, and that movie comes out this weekend, and I'm stoked about that. Are you a movie guy or no?
Not really, but I see, like, the ones that everybody knows about.
Okay, all right. Do you have a favorite? Do you like mob movies?
Goodfellas was really good.
All right. My grandmother, believe it or not,
Bronx Tale.
What's the best line from the Bronx Tale?
Wow.
Best moment. Because there's a thing.
I kind of liked when they were playing in the basement. They were playing craps, I think, down the basement, and they called the two kids that were down there. I don't know if they were kids, but the two guys, and he kept throwing the guys because he thought they were mushes. Yeah. He kept throwing the guys in the bathroom. He's like, if those two eyes take a look at that dice again, throw them in the bathroom. The guy kept crapping out. And he kept these guys in the bathroom during that part always cracked me up,
There's the part that Tammy Reese, who coaches out at Rhode Island for the women's basketball team, we do Reese's Pieces every other week on Mondays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on Facebook Live. When we did that, we were talking about A Bronx Tale, and she said the best line from A Bronx Tale, and it was exactly what I was thinking. And I had just had this conversation, which is funny how God works. So, in the movie, the part where the guy's told, if you find a girl who, when you get in the car, that she reaches over and she pops the door for you, that's a keeper. Yeah. And when it happens, so that was cool. But yeah, Bronx Tale, I love The Godfather. I love Marlon Brando. So On the Waterfront, which is a movie that I feel like people haven't seen, please go see On the Waterfront. But there's a lot of really, really good Marlon Brando flicks. And The Godfather, The Departed. The Departed's a good movie. That's a good.
I haven't seen that, actually, believe it or not.
You need to see that, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to find out really quick who you would save between Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio. Because I know now who I would choose very clearly. But no, I mean they're good. The shows, having a little release. Like you went and played golf. Some people read books, some people walk, some people watch movies. But it was like finding that place of doing something. So now that you're getting back into it, tell me about what's going on at Oswego right now. I wanna know how we're moving forward.
So we're doing well. We are now in week 5 of our strength and conditioning program that we do every spring. So the college allowed us to start working in person with our players 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
In our indoor training facility, where they moved all of our weights from our weight room that was non-compliant with, just the with HVAC systems and air quality and stuff, moved it over into our indoor training facility that is comprised of an indoor track and 50 yards of turf. So moved all the weights in there. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday morning, we go there and we have done some sort of a running program. I've got my hands on a couple of NBA training camp workouts.
Yeah.
Anytime you mention to college players, this is what an NBA team does, you instantly grab their attention. So,
Yeah.
And my assistant's done a great job of after every workout, we quantify what the guys are doing in those workouts, and we send out an email to them so they can track their progress of where they're at.
Yeah.
So every weight they lift, every time they run, any type of conditioning drill, they're getting a number and they're seeing where they're at. Because I think a big part of this, Dan, for us, when we get back to playing basketball next year is one of my concerns is that there's going to be a long road back from a conditioning perspective. I mean, I can run the guys on the track and we can run line drills, but you never can fully simulate playing in a game.
Right.
The adrenaline, the fatigue, the stops and starts, being in a defensive stance. So that's going to test my and my staff's patience. I could foresee a circumstance where maybe we look really like we got a long way to go in November, and December when games start.
Yeah.
But we have an opportunity for exponential growth, even more so during the season next year, as we start to get back into shape. And on top of that, we have to integrate these new players that are be coming into our program too. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then at this time of the year, in the Division III model, where it's non-scholarship, May 1st is usually a pretty significant day, and that most colleges encourage, if not demand, the kids deposit for the following year by May 1st. So obviously being, I think today's April, 20th? So we're 12 days away from that date. So we're in crunch time right now, doing a lot of Zoom meetings and talking with parents, high school coaches, AAU coaches, obviously the recruits themselves, trying to do our last second push to get them to sign on and come play for us next year.
Yeah, and how do you, I know you can't necessarily talk about certain things, but how is it looking recruiting wise?
Good. I mean, quite frankly, I'd be kind of nervous about the job that I'm doing if it doesn't go well this year, only because I didn't have to coach a team. So 90% of my attention was put into recruiting this year. We had to start to be very resourceful and really creative at the beginning of this pandemic with how we could meet and get kids interested in our school when we couldn't meet with them necessarily in person, especially on campus. So having that last spring, a trial and error period, has helped us be more organized and figure out what works this year. And, right now we've got, 4 young men committed, but we're involved with some really good kids late here that I feel good about. Yeah. So it'll be a little bit of a bigger class, just to fill some needs that I think are, anytime you come off a year, like our program is pretty used to playing in the NCAA tournament. Last year we had a good year. We were 19-8, but we fell just short on the bubble of getting in the tournament. Yeah. So obviously that's going to grab your attention after, I hate to call it failure, but we don't get to where we want to get to. Right. So now we're really evaluating why didn't we get to the tournament, what are our weaknesses, and what needs do we need to fill in recruiting. So that's what we're doing right now.
I think when you say failure at 19-8, that's a good problem to have. I mean, you have, and I know you give credit to what's come before you, but you have built Oswego State into a school where I believe you're going to be in the NCAA tournament for men's basketball. And I think that, I know you always defer credit and whatnot, but you deserve credit that, you know, people obviously in our community, they expect Syracuse to be there and so on and so forth. But at the D3 level, Oswego State, and what people don't get, when you and I have talked about it, it's extremely hard to get an at-large bid in NCAA Division III. It's not the same as D1 where there's 30-some-odd bids and whatnot. It's easier to get in, whatever. But to me, it's a lot harder for you to get in, and you found a way to consistently be there, to consistently push to the end, to get to the Final 16. So I think that you deserve a heck of a lot of credit because Oswego doesn't get the spotlight the way that it should get the spotlight. And there's been times where you've advanced farther than Syracuse, and people need to understand that when March comes around, you're in it too, just as much as Syracuse, if not more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, I would never diminish anything with Syracuse, because I'm a big Syracuse fan.
Absolutely.
I've come on the show. I'm a huge Jim Boeheim fan, big Syracuse fan.
But they should watch you both, is what I'm saying.
Yes, and I appreciate that. Look, the two things that you said that I concur with. It's a mathematical equation, right? With Division III, like there's our membership in this division. To give you a perspective, I think there's 300 and something teams in Division I basketball.
Yeah,
we have 400. And I think the number is 60 teams, give or take, 3 or 4. So, and there's 47 leagues in Division III. So there's 64 teams. So on a given year, now not all those leagues have the allotment of teams to qualify for an automatic bid, but the numbers, there's 19 at-large bids for 420 teams because, probably 4 of them get at-large bids. So my point is like, it's very difficult to do that. And then, the other thing is to win, and I'll give credit to the program. To win 20 games, you can say that in Division I now. They play 31 in the regular season. So winning 20 games, and that's not the division. It's very hard to do.
Right. But it's 20-11 if you do that. So.
Right. And they, and at the highest level, they have the ability to kind of sort of buy wins. They have buy games, guarantee games. To win 20 games and average 20 wins over the course of 9 seasons, that is truly a credit to the players and my assistants, because to average 20 wins when you play 25 regular season games, that's quick math. That's got to be 80%, win 20 out of 25.
20 out of 25. Yeah, I would say that's pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, so 75%, 80%. So bottom line, I'm really proud of that, and I only brag about it because it helps recruiting. Recruiting's the backbone of everything. So it's not the coaching. It's you got to have players.
Yeah.
So any coach would tell you that.
Yeah. But I think to your credit, like you said, you have to have the players, but it's everything, right? It's cyclical. So you have to recruit. Then once you recruit those players, you have to have good conditioning. You have to have purposeful film watching. You have to have a knowledge of the game. You have to have the right system for the players you have. Square peg, round hole. So you have to know what you got. You have to know what you're going for. Know what you get. If you don't get exactly what you're going for, to ad-lib to that as a coach. Once you ad-lib that system as a coach, then you have to implement it. Then you have to do in practice. Know what works, what doesn't. Know how to talk to these kids differently, because not everybody learns the same way. Then in a game, you have to be able to ad-lib on the fly and make good decisions and build plans, especially like a last-second shot. Know who your person is. Know your personnel. Know how they switch. Know how they move. And do that every single week, all throughout the year. So, yes, it's recruiting, and yes, it's the kids, but you have a million things to do, because your job as a leader is to understand how to lead, and a good leader knows, a great leader knows, you don't lead everybody the same way.
Absolutely. Well, and before you even get into the tactical parts of things, which are critical as well, like you mentioned, it's recruiting, but then it's retention and personal development.
Yeah.
So I think what gets lost is sometimes everybody, at the Division I level, it's highly publicized. You get, they got this many 5 stars. Okay, great. Nick Saban gets all these 5 stars. But what people lose is the player and personal development that him and his staff do.
Yeah.
whether or not you're Dabo Sweeney. All right, like, yes, they get it, but then to communicate with these young people that have been told how great they are, and to get them to work and be, blue collar, so to speak, and to develop. I can get somebody that's really talented, but if you're not going to work, the less talented people will pass you by. Okay, so this notion of recruiting is critical. It starts there, but then it's development, and then it's retention as well. Because right now we're going through a unique period, especially this year, where the transfers are not required to sit out if they leave.
Right.
And then this transfer portal has gained a lot of, talk around the country about, what's this like? And that's probably the number one question I ask that I get asked from the novice sports fan is, what do you think of the transfer portal?
Yeah.
So, but keeping continuity within your program is an essential and critical piece of success, because by far and away the hardest thing that coaches have to do right now is coach freshmen, because there is a mechanism in place where if you don't like the way things go,
you leave. Yeah.
And from a life skills perspective, Dan, that as a parent is really it's a tough thing to navigate and to watch, because you have a great mom and dad. I have great mom and dad, and I can't tell you how many times me or my brothers or sisters, when things didn't go well, you say, "Well, I want to transfer. I want to go places," and it's like, no, you're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it might not be on your timetable, but looking at things through a wide lens, a lens that comes to fruition, a picture that comes to fruition 3 years down the road is not a strength right now of many people. And
not at all.
That takes a lot of strength to buy into that and to listen to somebody else that is the quote unquote expert, meaning the coach,
And I think, to go off what you said, everything you said, and to rope it to parents too, I'll never forget, I was 7, and I was playing at Pastimes at North Salina.
Yep.
And my dad, it was the first time I played organized, and my coach wasn't letting me play. Like, I was really pissed that I wasn't getting to play as much. And we were all supposed, like, at that level, 7 years old, we're all supposed to, like, get opportunity. And I'm somebody who, like, I worked. I have, the thing that I realized about myself, and I know now, is I have a natural ability to shoot from literally anywhere. And I've trained my body to be able to.
Let me just stop you.
What?
You have an ability to shoot everywhere. Do you have an ability to make everywhere?
Well, this is the thing.
Anybody can get shots up there. Come on.
What I mean by that is I can make shots from anywhere. Once I get myself onto the court and I get acclimated, because, it had been a while since I've been on court, and I just went a couple weeks ago. But I have the ability. Like, I'm a three-point shooter. I'm a guy at the foul line. If I'm 80% or less, I'm pissed. So I know I can shoot, and I know I can make. I didn't like to condition. That was my thing. So when I tried out for a team, I'm like, let me take some shots. I'm going to make the shots. Let me do what I need to do. But as far as me attacking the basket, I didn't do that as much. As far as me running, I didn't do that. So I knew where I needed to work. As a kid, 7 years old, I'm upset. It's the morning. I'm supposed to be going to practice, and on a Saturday, my dad's in the bathroom. And I walk into my parents' room. I walk into the bathroom where my dad is, and he's getting ready for the day and all that stuff. And I said, "Dad," and I could feel it inside of me. And it's funny, even at 7 years old, I could feel like me, like, it didn't feel right coming out. And I can't say the word. I can't say QUI. I can't even spell QUI. I can't say the word. I can't, because I won't do it. And when I was 7, I said it. I said it at that time. And I said, "Dad, I want to, QUIT." And he goes, and he ignored me. And I was like, "Well, Dad, didn't you hear me? Like, I'm not going today. Like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I don't like it. It's not fun." And he said, "You can do a lot of things, but you're not quitting." And I was like, and I looked at him and he goes, "I'm not allowing you to quit." And I'm sitting here like it's my life. And he goes, "No." And I'll never forget, my dad said this. He said, "If I allow you to quit on this team at this point," he said, "if I allow this to happen, if I allow you to quit today, you'll quit for the rest of your life. So I won't let you do it."
It becomes easier and easier to
Yeah.
to do it.
And look at it.
It's like lying. It's like lying.
Right.
It's the first time you tell a lie, it's like, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. But each additional time, it's a habit. It becomes a habit. It becomes easier and easier every time.
And I
you do
never,
it.
after that.
So it's not good.
No. And I never quit on Our Lady of Pompeii. And I never quit for St. Joe's. And I never quit in my summer camps. And the funny thing is, the last camp we got to do in Marcellus, my buddy James and I, 14, 15 is the last year you can play before you have to become like a counselor or whatever. And we did the camp, and it was indoor, outdoor basketball, and you had to play your games in both. And it's a different game outside because there's elements. And the boards are different, everything's different. So that year, the last year we could play, he was always the one that got the MVPs and this and that. And I busted my butt that year. I was on a team. We all worked together. We listened to each other. I feel like there was no egos. That final year that we got to do the camp in Marcellus, we won the championship, and I got MVP of the playoffs. And like those moments of doing those things meant the world to me. And then getting a phone call from Marywood and at the D3 level and having a coach, say like, I heard you can shoot. And I was like, I'm not that great. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, how did you find that out? Because I wasn't playing that much and I didn't condition the way that I should have. But to get that phone call and to get that, like, come out, work with us, see what you like that meant the world to me, because back when I was 7 years old, if I had quit, I wouldn't have shot, I wouldn't have played. And I have so much respect for the game now that if I play in a pickup game now, I don't care if I'm playing like a D1 athlete. If I'm playing in a game now, I better guard the hell out of him. And if he's used to making 20 in street ball, he needs to make 10. Like that love for basketball and that fervor for life, if my mom taught me how to quit or were okay with it back then, I look at the fact that I wouldn't fight on the court, I wouldn't fight in life, I wouldn't fight in relationships, and I wouldn't have my own business, because the easiest thing to do when you're a business owner is to quit, because you get punched in the mouth sometimes daily, and you're trying to figure out, how do I navigate this? What do I do? And it's just you. It's just you. Matt will tell you, he created Cafe Kubal in his parents' basement making coffee. And here I am, I started my show out of thin air. I went to Carvel, my first partner here in the community. I went and I met him in a parking lot, and I said, I'm leaving traditional radio. I'm going to build this. And I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I know that no matter what, I'm going to succeed. And he signed on that day and said, I trust the man. And now it'll be 9 years in June that the company's been here. And knowing that, like, that whole road to get to where I am today, those 9 years don't happen if I was taught as a kid to transfer, to quit, to go find another girl when this girl doesn't do what I want, or go find another school when this school doesn't do what I want. And I see people like that all the time now, and I would never, ever, ever want to live my life that way, where it's so easy to walk away from something. And what I realized by people that quit and transfer, and I understand not everybody that transfers is a bad thing, I get that, but people that quit on life, or people that whenever there's adversity, they run away, I find that those people never grow, and they can't take care of other people. And I feel like, in a bigger picture of society, if you teach people to quit, then that's where the family gets affected. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the show, is the family element. Yeah. So
transferring is not the same thing as quitting. I mean, first of all, truth be told, I was somebody that transferred colleges. So
and I didn't mean that.
No, I know. Yeah. No, I had a unique situation where I was cut from my college basketball team.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave the school that I was at. I had great friends and a great experience there, but I wanted to continue to play college basketball, and it wasn't going to happen there. So I had to make my first probably really difficult decision in my adult life, and that's how I ended up going to the school I went to. And I had a unique situation where I played for 3 coaches that I really respected, and went to 2 schools that were both just great places.
Yeah.
Had some great friends to this day from both places. And so not all transfer situations are
bad,
awful, but I'm talking about the ones that occur because,
you're fighting for a starting role.
There's no instant gratification, so we're just going to go try something else. That's more of what I'm referring to.
Yeah, and I get that totally. I think quitting, in the sense of quitting is just wrong. But in the transfer world, what I mean by that is when a player has to fight for their job, or a player is coming, but like there's certain guys that kind of shocked, and from people that I trust greatly at Syracuse, the Kadari thing, that was kind of a thing that the staff figured because the whole world was talking about it, and it essentially, if it wasn't in his head and it wasn't in his team's head, the people around him, it got in their heads that like, okay, well, he should be starting because everybody thinks he should be starting. In the case of Braswell, that was a shock to the staff. And because he had kind of been a forgotten man that I really was pushing for, because I think the kid's great. And I support all the kids that come through. Like, I want them all to succeed no matter where they go. And so Braz I spent a lot of time with, and I wanted him to have his moment. And toward the end of the season, he had earned the right to like get in the good graces of Boeheim. So him leaving was more of a shock to the staff. But I want people to go where they're happy. What I'm referring to in my QUIT is my dad's like, you can't quit on life. But in the world that we're in now, because the transfer portal exists and because it's easy and because the intra-conference stuff, you don't have to like sit out 2 years anymore, like ACC and the American and all that. So because all of that's gone and you can maybe play immediately, it puts you in a situation where some people transfer because their coach changes, and I get that. Some people transfer because they were lied to, and I totally get that. Some people transfer because, they need to be closer to home, something happens with their family. There's so many reasons to transfer that I 100% support and understand. And if you got sold something and it's not the truth, then you should leave. Because coaches should be held to the same accountability as a player. But in the world of I'm leaving because I think I'm great and you're not letting me play, or I'm a freshman and I want to go to the NBA, so why am I not starting because I only want to be here for 5 minutes? Those are the moments where the transfer portal is going to, arguably, in football, basketball, and whatnot, it could have more names in it than spots are available. And then what's going to happen? I worry about the kids like
That's already happened.
Yeah, and that's the concern I have is some kids do it for the right reasons and they might get screwed. Some kids do it for the wrong reasons and they might benefit, or vice versa. But having the portal as free as it is a beautiful thing for a situation like yours. But it's also a dangerous thing because it's like musical chairs, and when the music stops and there's no more chairs left, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think all those points are well taken. And look, I also am a big person on adaptability.
Yeah.
I believe in that. And, things don't stay the same. Like I teach a class at Oswego, a coaching class. And one of the things I talk to aspiring young coaches about in this class is, the way that when I broke into this industry 23 years ago, 22 years ago, the way we communicated with athletes and parents and the way that we relationship build then is so much different than now. And then, 20 years from now, it'll be different than it is then. So, part of what is a responsibility of a leader is to be able to adapt to situations. And I think you can see over the course of our lifetime examples of coaches that, kind of refuse to adapt, and sometimes that ends up leading to the end of their career.
Yeah.
Sometimes unceremoniously. So, I also think, without beating a dead horse here with this transfer portal, it's here to stay.
Right.
And as a coach, what I continue to do is, obviously I'm going to support players, but I'm also not going to stop advisement with their personal development.
Right.
I have a saying with our guys, it's like the second I don't address something because I'm fearful of addressing the elephant in the room, that means I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So the second you don't, go to class one day, or the second you don't put forth your very best effort in something that we're doing, for me to not say something is an element of I don't care, which isn't the case.
Yeah.
So, long story short, if I see somebody that's in the midst of possibly making a poor choice, I'm not going to sit back idly and just say, okay, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I'm still going to help and try to advise in the proper fashion with no pressure on them to follow my direction.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to not say something, you know?
Right. And I think for you as a coach, how important is it for you to kind of, in a sense, you know, sacrifice your own personal gain or the own, you know, gain of what you're looking to do, that when a young man wants to transfer, let's say, and decides to do it, you know, if you're in that position, to support through that situation, like how do you handle that? Because like even with, in the sense of like Quincy Guerrier, and I spoke with Adrian Autry, and he's testing the waters of the NBA, you would think some coaches are like, oh, you're going to the NBA, screw you. Adrian's like, we're getting him in the gym, we're getting him ready. He's like, I got a regiment for him coming up to make sure he's prepared.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's no different than, you know, if you're a professor at a college and, you know, your responsibility is, like, listen, we don't have jobs without the kids.
right.
I'm very quick to acknowledge that. And, you know, it's just, listen, if I've coached 125, 150 kids at Oswego, not every single kid has walked out the door saying, you know, I absolutely love Coach Leone, or I love the decisions he made with my playing time or my role, or I was happy with that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But you try to reach as many as you can, you know, and there's no personal, and I know don't mean it like this, but there's no personal gain for me. Like, I work for the kids. I certainly subscribe to that. Now, coaches are very unique figures because it's very difficult to be in this type of leadership position without a little bit of a confidence / ego. Okay?
Right.
So, you know, I'm as competitive as anybody,
right,
and I want to win. But I also subscribe to, if I left my job tomorrow, the next guy will come in. Like, I'm not integral to the success of this place.
Right.
Like, nobody's as important as they think they are. So when kids leave, if a coach leaves,
yeah,
life doesn't stop. So nobody's as important as they think they are. And I 100% think that. So there's no personal gain or loss when, you know, it hasn't happened very often, but if a kid were to leave our program, you know, my responsibility is to plan, to problem solve, and to say, okay, we've got to move forward and get the next group of people that are going to help us win a championship.
There's a lot of, you know, before we move forward, a final point on it, there's a lot of confusion with the transfer portal that I found.
Yes, there is.
And, you know, some fans know what it is, and some do not. And I've gotten a lot of the same question of, well, if Kadari left Syracuse, why are you saying he has 4 years to play, Dan? Because this is for 2019, 2020. No, it's for 2020, 2021. It's for the pandemic year, because their mentality was he wasn't on the team, so how does he benefit? He didn't have to be on the team in 2019. It's only 2020. So everyone that's on the team right now, from all that I've understood, if you're on the team, so in Braz's case, Braz's a redshirt sophomore. So he has essentially his redshirt sophomore year back, so he has 3 years to play at Charlotte. He's playing for the 49ers. So he's there. Kadari has 4 years at Seton Hall. Jean Boljac, because he was a redshirt freshman, has 4 years wherever he goes. Woody Newton is a true freshman, has 4 years. So essentially, whatever they were this year, if it said junior, redshirt junior, freshman, whatever it is, just consider that this year again, and they get that year back. So in the case of Syracuse, all the guys that are leaving, it's almost like they never came here. 3 of them have 4 years. 1 of them has 3 years. So that's a misconception of it. The other misconception of it is how freely can they move, and do they have to sit out a year? So as a coach, can you just kind of impart some like direct knowledge of what transfer rules are now and what the portal's done and what's allowed this year in a pandemic? Because there's a lot of confusion of who's sitting out, who's playing, how many years do they get? And I find that as the weeks go by, people are still confused as to like what the makeup actually is.
Yeah, so obviously I've played Division I basketball for 2 years, but I've never coached at that level. So,
well, I mean, at your level
from a
too,
compliance,
like
yeah. So from a compliance standpoint, I couldn't intelligently tell you 100% of the rules as they pertain to Division I. But what I can tell you is each division, NCAA Division I, II, and III, has slightly different rules and that type of thing when it comes to transfers. I mean, Division III, our young men are not and women are not on scholarship.
Right.
So they have, at our level, what's called a self-release form, where they actually can maintain privacy. It's a student-athlete friendly situation where, okay, I play for Oswego. I, want to look at SUNY Oneonta as a place to transfer to. But if my coach knows I'm sniffing around, I'm not 100% sure I want to leave.
Right.
So they give the students, because they're paying, they're not on scholarship, they give them a 28-day or 30-day window to communicate with another school without their current coach knowing. So you would say...
Is that window for as many schools as they want or just one?
As many schools as they want. So they fill out this form. They can access it online.
The self-release form.
Correct.
And then
fill
that
it
gives
out and
them
they
a
send
month.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's as many as they want.
Okay.
Now, after the month is up, then at that point, if they want to continue to talk with one or more coaches from other schools, then the athletic department is notified, whatever. Okay. And on the flip side, if I'm a coach at Oswego, or if I'm the coach at Oswego State, and somebody from Oneonta wants to transfer to me during this first 28, 30-day window where they have, somewhat anonymity, I'm not allowed to call the coach there and say, listen, I don't want you to think I'm messing around with your player, but he's called me about transferring. So it really protects the student-athlete in the non-scholarship level. So you can pick that apart in a lot of different ways. The old school way of thinking is, well, it's kind of cowardly for a student-athlete to go behind somebody's back and do that. But again, not every situation is the same. There are some really, really unique things that can happen where a transfer situation is the right thing. Right. So I don't want anybody that's listening to think, oh, he's anti-transfer. No, what I'm anti not working through your problems.
Agreed. Same way for me.
Anyways, but at Division I, Division II, what I do know is typically when you leave and go to Division I, you've always had to sit out a year. They've changed the rule. I'm not sure if it'll go beyond this year, but they've changed the rule this year where you are now do not have to sit a year of residency, they call it, at the new school, and you can play right away.
And intra-conference, you don't have to sit too.
Okay, so I did not know that.
Yeah, the ACC dissolved theirs. The American just released theirs last week or the week before.
So those are some of the very basic things, and then you have to, whenever you leave a school, you have to be eligible at the school you are leaving in order to be eligible immediately at the next school.
Right.
So in other words, I can't attend school X and get, fall below their academic standards for eligibility.
And then just leave.
And then just leave to go and start over again.
Yeah.
You have to be, from a...
Well, you got to transfer your credits and all your scores. So.
Yeah, well, you've got to be eligible at the school you're leaving, both academically and from a behavioral standpoint. And another thing is, like, if you, let's say a student athlete, failed a drug test, let's say, and that made him, for some reason, the school had a rule where you're ineligible because you failed blood. I'm just giving you a hypothetical.
Right.
You can't just go to another school and be eligible, right? You have to be eligible at the school that you're leaving in order to be eligible at the next school at the point that you leave.
If you move from D2 to D3, is there any rule?
No, when you come, because Division III is non-scholarship, so when you go from D1 or D2 to D3, the one thing Division III does not do, Dan, is we don't do, although there's a waiver process, we don't take graduate transfers from Division I and Division II. So if a kid graduates from a Division I or Division II school and then wants to come and play his last year or two as a grad transfer in Division III.
Shout out to Eric Grunman. He's on the call right now.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, he is.
That's my guy.
Yeah, that was the guy that called me when I was in high school. He's
Eric
the one that told me to come try out for the team.
Eric and I are close friends. Eric was at my wedding, and When I moved to Scranton, when I coached at Keystone,
Yeah.
he was the first friend that I met there. So we got a lot of good memories together.
Yeah, he is one of the people that his words to me to this day. And Eric, I remember sitting in his office after everything with MU courtside and all the stuff that I worked to do at school. He leaned back in his chair, and we were in the old building, and he was up above like the old court, and he said, outside of $1,000 check, you can have whatever you want from me for the rest of your life because of what you've done. And and whenever I see him, no matter who I'm with, his kind words, everything, he has been there on and off the court for me. He called me to potentially be my coach. I came off a really bad coach senior year of high school, and I ended up broadcasting on a last second thing, took it over, not knowing that I was even going to have the opportunity, took it over, did all this stuff on that side that helped to build my career. So he was never my coach per se, but he became my friend, and I think our relationship blossomed in such a deep way that I just find it interesting that he called me as a player, but we met as me being a broadcaster of his games, and now we're colleagues, and he is genuinely one of the kindest people that I know. And when he says like he'll do anything for you, like I genuinely believe that when it comes to our relationship.
He's great. He's the best.
And he likes to golf a lot too.
He does.
He does like
I played with him. I played with him and his and one of our mutual coaching buddies a year ago actually. So it was fun.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. And yeah, we got some people saying Grundy on there. So
Nachos Grundy. That's his nickname. Nachos Grundy.
I like it. So
we've had a few wings and beers over the years.
When you golf, have you golfed with him? I'm guessing you have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Who's better?
I'm getting there, but he's probably better than I am. I mean, he is a golf coach. But I'm getting there. I've improved. I only took up the game about 9 years ago. My wife bought me lessons because she was worried about me having an outlet from coaching.
Yeah.
And now golf has become somewhat of a nuisance now that we have 2 little children and, typical competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Once I get going on this thing and I see improvement, like my competitive juices get going all the time, and I'm pretty dedicated to that sport and getting better and all that. It's a great lifetime sport. Met a lot of good friends from it.
With all you do as a coach at Oswego State for the men's basketball program, and you're golfing, and being a husband, and raising your girls, do you do anything outside of that as a hobby, moment for yourself, a breather? Do you breathe? I find that in this past year it was important for me to breathe. So how do you breathe, I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't know. I've never analyzed my breathing. You're a lot smarter than I am. I don't know. What do I do? I don't know. Pretty simple. I'm a big sports guy. I'm a big baseball fan.
Yeah.
I watch the Yankees every night.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a hobby, but a lot of people can't get into baseball in April, and I'm one of those guys. It's maybe from growing up around my dad and my grandfather. I watch it every night. Watch the pregame show, watch the postgame show. I watch it. I think baseball is a great sport where you really find out who's good because it's 162 games. It's 500 to 600 at bats.
Yeah.
You're going through injuries, all this stuff. I think it's the truest test of any of the sports of who's really good.
It's true.
But it's, to the average fan, it's probably a little boring and all that. I find the chess match within a game very entertaining.
You learn patience.
Yeah.
It's like watching golf. You learn a lot of patience watching golf.
But I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other hobbies I have. I mean, I try to I wouldn't call it a hobby, but I stay diligent with trying to take care of myself and working out.
Yeah. 5
or 6 days a week. That's therapeutic. I have noticed when I get into my stints in the middle of the season when I don't work out, I don't feel as healthy. So that's an important thing for me to do. And quite frankly, when you're a basketball coach and you've got little kids and a wife who's very passionate and successful with her job, you kind of don't have a ton of time for much else.
Do you have date night? Do you try to do something?
Yes, we do. We do. We're pretty good about that. We're very fortunate. My family, we all pretty much live within 3 miles of each other. So
you told me
my
about
parents are, and my wife's parents are both very, very giving of their time.
Yeah.
So that allows us to do a lot of stuff because they love spending time with their grandchildren, all their grandchildren. But it's, we have babysitters, but, my dad and my mom that are in Syracuse, and then my in-laws that are outside of Scranton, they, if Amber and I want to go do something, for a weekend or, during the week, we really try to go one night a week because we're both wired in a way where let's just put it this way, we're high energy, high intensity people. So if we don't get some time once a week, that's not the best thing for our relationship, So we try to do some stuff at least once a week. Sometimes with other couples, a lot of times with other couples, where we'll go out to dinner or drinks, and then sometimes just with her and I. So I like that.
That coming from Jason Leone here, Oswego State Lakers men's basketball head coach. We're inside of Cafe Kubal. We're right above 208 North Townsend Street. So those of you at the cafe probably are hearing us echo a little bit down here as you have some fun this morning, grabbing your coffee, your breakfast sandwich. I got the chocolate chip banana bread for the road, one of the greatest things ever created in Central New York. So we're happy to be here at Cafe Kubal, supporting local. I started the hashtag in February of 2020, support CNY. When you come to Cafe Kubal, wherever you go, you listen to Wake Up Call, you go out to an Oswego State game, use the hashtag support CNY. Let us know that you're supporting each other because there's so much negativity on social media that to put out a simple positive thing is a beautiful thing. And to show Cafe Kubal, Wake Up Call, Oswego State, whatever it may be, that you are supporting each other is something that we all need to see right now. And you would be amazed how a very simple phrase, note, hashtag, whatever it may be, a picture can go such a long way, especially in today's world. Positivity, and I want to get to it in a second, going off of that, because you as a coach right now have had to really navigate a lot of waters that other coaches like Grundy, when I was going to Marywood, never had to worry about Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff in the beginning. So we'll talk about that in a second, but date night. Favorite date night. What do you guys like to do? I like to live vicariously through people. So what's a date night where you really feel like that's your thing? What's her go-to? What's your go-to? Is it the same?
It's not the same. We're on my schedule, admittedly so, 95% of the time. But thankfully, I will say, my wife will tell me when I'm pushing the envelope too far with doing too much of what I want to do, but she's good about that. We like to try, restaurants. There's a couple other buddies of mine that I grew up with, that I went to high school with, and our wives all get along. So that's very nice where, we'll go out to some nicer places for dinner and stuff like that. We really enjoy doing that. So that's good.
Okay.
It was one thing it was kind of fun that we got into for a couple years was we had season tickets to SU football, and my wife and I would go up early to a lot of the games, and we'd tailgate, just her and I together for an hour and a half before the game, have a couple beers, and we'd go get stuff, and she enjoys the setup for the tailgate, so she likes setting up the tables and having all the Syracuse gear and all that stuff. So she actually gets a kick more out of that. But then, my wife's good because she'll try a lot of different beers and drinks and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. We do that, put on music. I'm a big Justin Bieber guy, so I'll play some weird music that nobody thinks I would listen to.
His new stuff is
my daughter's into it, and
it's good.
We're taking it. We had a plan to take her to a concert last year, and then the pandemic hit. So we're going to take her for her birthday this summer. And
so you like
my wife
Biebs?
Was like, "Do you want me to take her?" I was like, "Well, no. This is also self-serving. I want to go too."
Did you like the Biebs before your daughters liked the Biebs?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Love it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, he's good stuff. But I listen to everything. I listen. My wife actually has gotten me over the last 5 or 6 years into country. I listen to that, and
I knew you were going to say that.
Top 40, and my guys will laugh. I listen. I'm a hardcore rap guy.
Yeah.
So back in the day.
Okay.
Wu-Tang.
A lot
Biggie,
of good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff.
So I kind of run the gamut.
So I'm going to tell you a story about the Biebs. He came to Syracuse. Did you know that? In the beginning when he was 14.
Did not know that.
So when I was working at ESPN, when it was ESPN at the time, 1260 was with 93Q. And we got told 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Hey, this kid's coming in. He's going to play a little something for us. If you guys want to see it, we're going to do it in the break room. Free, just come in, hang out. So I think he showed up. I want to say he showed up at like 4:30. And we go into the room. And there's a camera literally right here. There's a person sitting here. I'm sitting here. And then there's people sitting around. His like mom, manager, whatever, whoever she was right here. And here's this kid, mushroom haircut, little kid, guitar as big as he was, and he's playing on the guitar, and he's got this soft voice. And so they tell us, this is Justin Bieber, and we get to ask him questions after he played 2 songs for us. I think he played Baby. And after all this stuff...
Great song.
He goes, right, and he says, one of the people said, well, are you signed? I forget who asked the question. And I kid you not, he goes, yeah, I'm trying to choose between... what did he say? He said Justin Timberlake or Timberland. Or not Timberland. He said Justin Timberlake or Usher. And I was like, there must be another Justin Timberlake or Usher. Like, this little kid, like, are you kidding me? Like, and sure enough, a month and a half later, he signed and blew up like crazy. But in this moment, at the end, they're like, well, if you want to get an autograph, you can get an autograph from him. And I don't turn it down because, I want to support whoever's out there chasing their dreams in the right way. So I went up to him, and not everybody did. Some people were weird because, I'm a guy, and that's a guy, whatever. I went up to him. I was like, my name's Dan. He signed it, Justin Bieber, all that stuff. I take it. I kid you not. I take it. I put it in a folder. Within a month and a half later, I moved down to Florida to go to ESPN 1080, the team, down in Orlando at the time. And I land in Florida. Within a week of driving around, this kid blows up. He's got concert tickets given away every day. He's selling out everywhere. And I'm going, I just met that kid up in Central New York, and I never saw the movie. But in Never Say Never, the footage from 93Q of us in the room, you can't see anybody but him because the camera's pointing just to him sitting there. There's pieces of what he played for us in that room. So technically, that scene, I'm there and the people I work with are there, but you can't see anybody but him. But that was like our moment with him, which was and I was like, why are they filming this? So it's just kind of very crazy that I was in the room that was in the movie. I got the autograph. I met him at 14. He wasn't signed yet. And he legitimately, I landed and the kid blew up. There was cardboard cutouts everywhere. And I'm thinking, it was so weird to me, the dynamic of, I just met this kid and now he's like the biggest thing in the world. So, and he married a Baldwin, so he's connected to Central New York again. And it's just, it's a very unique thing because I interviewed the Baldwin family and they were talking about him and about like his life now and his music and how he's changed some stuff. And I'm like, I have no degree of separation between Justin Bieber and I, which is very weird.
Yeah,
So,
well, one of my favorite, my daughter, my 6-year-old comes down, this is a couple years ago. She'd come down before she caught the bus in the morning, and her and I would sit together while she kind of just collected her thoughts before her days of school, and we'd put Bieber on the phone and watch it together. So
yeah.
She just really gets into it. So, anyways, so that's my Justin Bieber deal.
She likes the Biebs. I like it, and you like it. I respect that. So, to social media, which actually connects to Bieber and to a lot of people because of dealing with it. You as a coach, we've talked about some stuff before. What is your message? Because usually, like as a coach in the olden days, which weren't that far away, but when you were coaching before social media, there's the reality that what you said stayed in the room. People couldn't film it. People couldn't record it. People couldn't tweet about it. And there was a level of privacy, which a lot of people don't really live with a lot of privacy anymore. And I feel that it was meant to be so good, but sometimes it gets political. Sometimes there's no privacy. Sometimes there's all these things that happen with social media, and it's instantaneous. If somebody's mad at you as a coach, it's immediate. An official, they used to get yelled at the game, and then nobody could reach them. Nobody had their cell phone number. Now, if they search their name on Twitter, all the stuff about, an official. So in the world we live in today, how do you coach to try to establish that this is a family and some things have to, stay within the family privately in the sense of, planning a game and different things, like you don't want to let certain stuff out. how do you teach the players to think about what they're doing, not just as a player, but when they go for a job, some of the things they post might be looked up. I mean, you literally have to be the coach like everybody else was, but Bobby Knight and, and all these guys in history didn't have to deal with what you're dealing with. I mean, it's an insane world of just how easy it is to get information, to give information, and somebody posts something 10 years ago and somebody will find it. So how do you coach your kids to be responsible and to be smart in a world where it's very easy to access really anything at this point?
That's one of the more challenging parts of my job because I'm not on social media. So I'm archaic, and I think that there's a place for it. Clearly, it's not all negative.
No.
In fact, there's a lot of positive things about it.
Great.
I just haven't. It's just not the way I'm wired, I guess. So having said that, it's a combination of I've got to be very reliant and delegate some of. Like, for instance, we'll have an initial team meeting during the year where this will be one of the topics we address. And I've always had an assistant coach that's, kind of right out of college or a couple of years out of college. It's a little younger that is more in tune with that.
Yeah.
Although, heck, I've got a 70-year-old assistant coach that's more in tune with social media than me. So they kind of do that portion of the talk with the guys. I just look at all I say with our players is, you're allowed to make a mistake in life with what you say or what you do, but just understand, when you walk into a room or when you say something and people don't know you, or you walk into a room with a scowl on your face, you're allowing people that don't know you to make any judgment they want. And I think that's something that is sometimes hard to recover from. So, point being, we give them 4 or 5 anecdotes or case studies of some bad things that have happened within, college athletics because of a mistake made with social media.
Yeah.
We try to tell them, look, there's a lot of good things. We're not trying to police you or impede on your personal space.
Right.
But from a personal development standpoint, we want you to understand these are the things that could potentially go wrong. And then just as a rule, aside from social media, when it comes to our program, there's certain things where there's a sanctity within the team, within the locker room, that, my standard is we're not going to release those things to the public. Yeah. You get out of a game, you have a bad game, you don't like the way the coach is using you or a decision that I made during the game, my ask is come and see me. I work with my door open.
Right.
They have my cell phone number. I'm up till midnight at least every night.
Yeah.
Call me.
Right.
We don't need to air everything within our program to the public.
Right.
And that's another life skill. I'm not telling you we bat 1,000% and we've never had an issue.
Right.
But I think guys within our program, respect people's space. And the other thing I try to address is the program it belongs to all of us. It belongs to players that played before us. It belongs to the school, the community of Oswego. Don't do something that's going to draw attention to yourself. Respect the fact that this belongs to a lot of different people and not just you. So, keep that in mind in your very vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
Where, as you mentioned, you're angry, you're emotional, you want to release something.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to be mindful enough to choose a different method.
It's so easy in the moment to mouth diarrhea, and you have to train yourself. You have to be able to pull back, and it's a taught thing. It's something you have to learn. because you want to have those moments. You want to have those moments where you kind of just, you feel something, you say it, but you have to be smart about it. And I think you brought up a great point that if a student athlete or a student or whoever, if somebody does something like on campus at a school, right? So they do something, if the news covers it, like boom, here's CNN, here's Fox, here's whoever, C-SPAN. If everybody comes in and they're covering this stuff, it's not that kid. Now it's that school, it's that community, it's those teachers, it's the parents of that kid, and now all of a sudden it's like the county, and that's the world we live in today, where it's just different. So you want to bring that positive attention to yourself and not the negativity. And obviously the world isn't perfect, but I think, it's important for you to say something like that, for people to remember, hey, like what you say out there, that reflects your parents, it reflects your siblings, it reflects your grandparents, it reflects, the community. And
absolutely,
you not being on social media, I tell people all the time, I am on social media as a business owner. I am a hermit crab outside of that. Like if I'm on a date somewhere, I'm not taking pictures showing people, look at who I'm with, look where I'm at. Like if I'm like out with my mom, whatever, I might take like a birthday picture for my mom. Or I might, and I do a lot of stuff with Dan on Disney, so you'll see me in Disney. But I like to live my life, and there's a piece of the balance, which I had to learn through a lot of give and take and trial and error. There's a balance of putting something on your phone to promote what you're doing and different things that are going on. But when I'm at Disney, I'll take some pictures, I'll get some castle shots, you'll see me eating something, and I'll have all this stuff ready to go for Dan on Disney. But my main goal when I'm there is to enjoy the park. So the beauty of snap, 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 and then put it in the pocket and be on the ride. Because I feel like we want to show people nowadays everything we're doing that we actually forget to enjoy what we're doing. You take so many pictures of your food, by the time you eat it, is it cold? Do you enjoy it? So, it's like there's a way to go about things where, and I think about that at Disney all the time, is I want to be in the moment, and I think we take things for granted when we get to do them a lot, and I've gone to Disney all my life, so when I'm there, it doesn't matter if I've been on a ride 1,000 times, there's somebody standing in line next to me that's never been on before, and they might never be able to come back again. So it's that appreciation of being on a team, being in a restaurant. I think now with everything we've been through, we should just be happy to go through a drive-through, to sit somewhere. I'm happy that you and I can be unmasked sitting next to each other right now, which I never in a million years thought was a thing. I never thought that I wouldn't be able to just like drive up to Oswego and see the game. You know what I mean? It's a very weird world that we've been living in, but I just hope it makes people appreciate the sanctity, whether you've done it once or a million times, to sit in a chair at a game and just watch, win, lose, or draw. Like to go back and sit and watch an Oswego State men's basketball game, like that should mean something even more so to people now, I would think.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I mean, athletics is a very recognizable entity in most communities and on a college campus, right? So we're, one of the things I try to converse with our guys is you can work very hard to build something, build a team, build a reputation, and ruin that with one comment or thought within social media. So we try to explain to them, you sometimes it can be perceived that an athlete has a lot more to lose, and because even at our level, you are under a microscope within our smaller sphere of being at a Division III college. So again, just another one of those teachable moments. I'm not an expert on it. I can't be because I'm not on it. But I read enough and I rely enough with knowledgeable people within my program. And then there's got to be an element of trust with everything. Like you're not going to micromanage people.
Yeah.
That's not the method. It's got to be cooperative in nature. One of the things that I try to do, I think I'm fairly successful at it, is I give my guys this sense that I can go talk to coach about anything. Okay, like they don't have to be afraid to come into my office and talk about drinking with me, talk about a relationship with a woman, talk about drugs, talk about anything that could be perceived as a controversial topic, because I'm not going to judge.
Right.
And with social media, I try to explain to them, instead of doing that, come talk to me, rather than displaying for people you don't know, display to somebody who really genuinely cares.
And the thing is, you don't have to be on social media to have learned. My dad always said, people, to this day, he said, Daniel, people will hate you. People will judge you. People will say bad things about you. Don't give them a reason.
Yeah.
He always said that, like, we're all going to hear, we're all going to hear things, but don't give them the reason, don't give them any ammo, let their gun be empty when they fire it. And so I think that's great that you said that, and that to have an open door. And I think any good parent, like I said, you're the father of the program. I think any good parent wants their kid. It may be tough to hear the relationship stuff of drugs and alcohol and any of that stuff like you mentioned, but would you rather be a parent where your kids come to you in those situations, or would you rather be a parent where they hide it from you? You have daughters, and if something, ever happened and whatever, if I had kids, I would want my kids to be able to come to me and tell me about it more than anything, and not feel judged, because it might be hard for me to hear that they were in this situation or this happened, but it's better than not knowing.
Yeah, you want to be a problem solver, you want to be helpful, and you'd rather help them get through a tough time than have them do it on their own. Anybody that you care about. So,
Jason Leone here with us, Oswego State Lakers men's basketball head coach, myself, Dan Tortora. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is inside of Kubal Co-works. You see this beautiful thing behind us, the Cafe Kubal logo, and we are here inside of the podcasting headquarters, right above the cafe on 208 North Townsend Street in Syracuse. We have this location, 324 West Water Street in Syracuse, as well as 401 South Salina Street, 3501 James Street. Golisano is now open, just opened back up again downtown here in Syracuse, and the newest location on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius. So plenty of places to get your favorite thing brewed for you. You get the chai, whatever you like. The breakfast sandwiches were incredible. And the chocolate chip banana bread, all the good stuff here at Cafe Kubal in our community. So make sure you support them and continue to support CNY. Jason, before we finish up here for the day, what keeps you in coaching? What keeps you focused? You and I have talked about why Oswego. We've talked about why continue to coach. Now through a pandemic, through all this adversity, through having the game taken away from you in a way that you had no control over, why still coach? Why navigate through it? What motivates you today?
I'm a big believer in process-oriented approaches, seeing and helping people, navigate through a critical portion of their life from 18 to 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
I think I'm a pretty competitive guy, so I enjoy the thrill of game day and the process of bringing a team along for 20, 21 weeks during every year, and then starting it all over. And then, working on a college campus, Dan, the reality is I get older every year, but the people that I work with or help are the same age. So there's an element of keeping you young that is attractive to me. And then I enjoy, coaching is a very unique thing. It's a very stressful profession, but I'm wired in a way where I'm not sure having this structure of 9 to 5 every day fits who I am. I enjoy having certain times where I have a lot of freedom to do things that I enjoy doing. It's as stressful as the 19 to 21 weeks are when I'm coaching in the season, it is nice to have a job where, you know, if I want to skip out early and go play a round of golf, if I want to go, I don't have to worry about asking somebody, can I have my kid's birthday party on this day?
Yeah.
Can I have the day off? There's an element of freedom with my schedule that I do enjoy about it. And I think coaching gives you a great opportunity to not only help and influence people, but it gives you a great opportunity to leave some sort of a legacy where you, quote unquote, leave it better than you found it. You know, and the impactfulness is something that I really enjoy as well.
You know, I think it's incredible that, and I agree with you. I'm not a 9 to 5 guy. I just never was, and so I think it's awesome what you do, and like you said, being at a job where you get older but the ages stay the same, so people stay young, and you get to consistently kind of live through that and learn that and whatnot. Being in the world that you're in today and being at Oswego, why, you know, to the people out there that maybe don't know Oswego or that are in our community, not in our community, know the program, don't know the program, there could be a kid out there looking for a home. Why is Oswego State to you the right place for you to keep going in this career and excelling?
I think we combine, from an academic perspective, we combine big school resources with small school feel.
Okay.
You know, so I think there's a lot of educational value there. You know, I think we have a great location that's centralized that allows us to branch out and get people from a lot of different places. And then, you know, the college, I look at where we were as a program 10 years ago and where we are now. Yeah. There's been, you know, incremental increases in support. The college has been very good to me in terms of, you know, wanting me to be there for an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I'm from here, so there is this element of having something special in the place where you grew up. You know, I grew up playing in youth leagues up in that area. You know, and I'm watching the video now, and there's a lot of local high school coaches that are tuning in today, and I see their names on the screen, and you know,
you got some former players or something.
Yeah, there's relationships there that are very meaningful in the area to me, and now that we've established this expectation of winning, these people in the area have really hopped on board and been supportive of our program, whether that be the high school coaches coming up to what I feel like is the best team camp in the area, in the region. They come to our games. If they have a good player, they're helping us recruit those players. You know, and then obviously having family and friends, you know, being there to watch games and support the program. And, you know, you don't just get this thing going at a place like Oswego in a small sample size.
Right.
This is something that takes a lot of elbow grease, so to speak, and you've got to work at this every single year to build something. You know, I played at the University of Rochester for a coach that was there for over 30 years, and my brother played at Hamilton College and played for a guy that was a Division III legend that coached there for 35 years. That element of continuity, you know, that element of being really good year in and year out, so then people take notice.
Yeah.
That is an attractive quality of the job for me. We're slowly but surely, it's been a decade, and this thing is not slowing down. We're doing some really good things, and that is not me. That's the staff I have. It's the college being supportive, and then it's the people in Syracuse, in Central New York, that legitimately, want to see myself and our team do well every single year. And they want to see their own players play for somebody that, okay, this guy's going to win. He's going to make sure my guys graduate and do good things afterwards.
Yeah.
And there's that element as well that's made it such a great spot for me.
And I love it, getting immediate messages saying great team camp and love bringing their teams up to the camp that you have. So, as you step forward into what is to come here in 2021 and 2022 and getting back to it and whatnot on the campus of Oswego, for you, Division III, before we get into a little bit of rapid fire to finish things up, why do you like Division III? How would you describe it? What's special about it? I mean, I'm a D3 kid because I went to Marywood University and I got to be around those programs and try to help them as best I could and meet some incredible people and to this day try to help. So what about D3 should we know from your perspective? Because I have a love for it, and I don't think it gets the spotlight that it should have sometimes.
Yeah. Well, let's start with some common misnomers or misconceptions about Division III. Listen, I was fortunate enough. I played Division I. I grew up with an uncle who was a Division I coach for 15 years.
Yeah.
If you can get your education paid for, that is an unbelievable opportunity. And there's great things about higher levels.
Right.
But one common misconception is, anybody can play at that level, at the Division III level. And another common misconception is, well, you can't work with the players as much, so it's one step above intramurals or high school basketball. I can definitively tell you, outside of resources, my level of expectations for our players and my staff wouldn't be any different if I coached at Syracuse than when I coached at Oswego.
Yeah.
So you make your program into what you want it to be. There's obviously significant differences in following and resources and those things, but if I was a high school coach and I coached at CBA or Henniger or West Genesee, I would have the same standard for the people around our program that I would have if I was a college coach. So much of coaching is just having a few things that you can't be good at 10 things.
Yeah.
But I've got 2 or 3 things that, for whatever reason, they work for me. And Division III is a place where I can have this perfect combination for me of freedom within my personal life, less anxiety, where if I have a year where the team is substandard, I don't have to worry about people that are giving money to the program wanting my job, or for me to be terminated. So there's patience at that level. And then the last thing is, in this world where at the higher levels, it really is more and more about getting to the professional level or instant gratification. There still is this element in Division III where I'm coaching guys for 4 years.
Yeah.
That process is invaluable for coaches and players. And that continuity, it's old school, but I would remind everybody out there, old school still works.
Yeah.
It still works, and
the best school is old school.
You've got to have your core values. You're gonna, whatever they are. For me, it's I tell our guys, like, there's only 3 things that we demand of them. They got to be on time. They can't get in trouble, and they got to do their schoolwork. And then everything else from that personal development standpoint will trickle into the basketball stuff.
Yeah.
If you're on time for things, you do what you're supposed to do when nobody's watching, and you're a committed student, you need to have the same characteristics as an individual to be a good basketball player as you do a good student.
Yeah.
And really everything else morphs from that, And then my job is to make sure we're getting talent.
Right.
We got to get the talent. So, but that's not anything the kids have to worry about. That's my element. But anyways, that's a long-winded answer, but that's my attraction of the Division III level. We've had a couple opportunities to move forward and move to different levels as an assistant or as a head coach over 20-something years now. And
yeah,
my wife and I decided at this point this is what works for us. You never say never, but I'm not going to be an assistant coach again. I love being a head coach. That's my thing, and we like the things that are going on where we're at.
Yeah. Well, when Jim Boeheim's 115 years old, maybe we can work on you there. So,
well, let me tell you something about Coach. I had an opportunity to run into him and his wife earlier this year, and Jim Boeheim acts and speaks younger than what I am, and he's 30 years older than me. So
a couple of years ago.
So age really is just a number.
It is, and I think it was like 4 years ago, I was in the parking lot with him, and that man was like speed walking me like faster, and I remember going, my Lord, and he went through like, some stuff like physical, whatever, and I remember seeing him, I think it was 2 seasons ago, standing in the press room and seeing him at the podium, and I went, this guy is like, he's younger now. Like, this guy somehow got more energy. He's more spry. I just looked at him and I went, he looks better than he looked like 5 years ago to me, 10 years ago. Like, he could coach forever. And so there's the reality that, and to those of you that read the article on April 1st on WakeUpCallDT.com and didn't take it as breaking 2 weeks later, when Jimmy decided to come, Jimmy, Buddy, Jim, this year. Jim at the end of this year is going to be 78, I think. 78, if not 79. This would be the perfect time to go off in the sunset. But if he doesn't go with his kids, which you would imagine the Boeheims all leave together, Boeheim cubed, I use that hashtag, I want copyright on that. But if that doesn't make him leave, he's coaching until he's going to coach for the rest of his life in that chair. If he doesn't leave with Buddy and Jimmy, he's coaching until he's 90, 95. It's kind of like buckle up, Buttercup, because if he doesn't leave after this year, I can't see him leaving at all.
I think he should, he'll decide when it's right. Forget the basketball stuff. If you ever listen to him talk, and everybody, he gets a lot of play with his press conferences and all that stuff. But if you listen to him talk, forget the basketball. He's an intelligent human being. So
the questions I asked him this year, we went way off of basketball, and I loved his. I mean, he gave me like a 7-minute answer to the two of the questions I asked this year were 2 of like my favorite answers he's ever given me. But I feel like I know how to talk to him. We've talked for almost 10 years. We've talked in his office. We've talked individually. We've talked at press conferences and on the golf course. And I feel that we have that mutual respect of like, I'm not going to ask a question I know the answer to. I'm not going to ask you why you don't play man-to-man because the fans want me to ask you so that you could scream at me and they can enjoy it. So I'm going to ask him pertinent questions that I want answers to that I don't have the answer to that still respect him as a coach. You have to be able, as a coach, to know how to treat your players differently, how to teach them differently. And I know that talking to Jim Boeheim is different than me talking to Roy Williams. I know that. So when I talk to Jim, I'm not going to ask him about the 2-3 zone. I'm not going to ask him about man-to-man. I'm not going to ask him about Jesse playing more because everybody wants that soundbite of him screaming. I talk to him about things that I kind of just realized, like if this is my starting 5, this is his. And I tell the fans all the time, I can make a case, because I just had this a couple weeks ago out at Pizza Man, we were talking about this, and shout out to the guys that I sat down with. We were discussing who the starting 5 should be. And I told them, this is the starting 5 that you gave me, and it makes sense, and I understand why you put this guy here and this guy here, but this is what Jim's going to do. I know the difference between what Jim's going to do and what we think Jim's going to do or what we want Jim to do. So I've long since realized and come to terms with the fact that whether it makes sense or not to me, this is what he's going to do. So fans kind of get pissed at first, but I'm like, you know what? You can get pissed at me for saying this, but in 3 months, 4 months, when this is the starting 5, you could take that deep breath and go, Dan was right. Because I know that Jim is going to go here, and whether or not you like it, this is what's going to happen, and he's not going to change. We can talk about man-to-man and full court press until you're blue in the face, but he's never going to play the full court the whole game, and he's not going to man-to-man at all. So I understand fans get so frustrated because they think like I have a really good point, and sometimes they do. But he is who he is, and he's chosen to be who he is, and I respect the man for the wins that he has and the time that he's spent. And I love when I get to talk with him, and I feel that I know how to talk with him about stuff that actually matters and is pertinent. And every year, everybody wants to fight with him about the 2-3 zone, and this is his 46th year. He ain't changing, not at all. And I think, 1,083? I think that's his win total right now. So I think he's okay. I think he's all right.
He's more than okay now.
You know?
I'm excited that his son is going, that Jimmy is going. I remember telling my father when Buddy signed to go there, you know, and he's rated 347th recruit or something like that. I said, Buddy Boeheim will be a great player at Syracuse. And I have a group of guys that I go on a golf trip with every year, and all we do is fight about sports and golf. Every once in a while, maybe politics too. But anyways, and I told those guys, you mark my words, Buddy Boeheim will be a great player.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, Jimmy Boeheim will be an influential player on that team next year. He's big, he's strong, he can score. Those two kids can really, really play.
I just can't wait to see the day in the Dome this coming season, hopefully with fans there. I want to see fans. I want the excitement. I can't wait to see Buddy toss it and Allie to Jimmy and Jimmy slam it down that first time in the Dome. That feeling to me is going to be incredible. And I know to those kids, it's going to be remarkable and amazing.
I'm getting texts now. I got to shout out my guys. My guys on the Super Spreaders text chain, they're watching. So got to give those guys a little shout out. Those guys are some of my best friends in the whole world. We
Super Spreaders?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I don't know how it got to that, but we go on this golf trip every year. It's a group of guys from CBA.
Yeah.
Some families, CBA families, and we go every year. And the I'm not sure what's better, the actual trip or the text messages that go out before the trip, where you've got grown men that just fight about every sinil thing going into the trip, and then we get down there and everybody has a great time.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, is like my best friend, my bestest of friend, Evan, when we look like we'll take a walk together and we look like we're fighting, but we can have these conversations where we're on different ends of the spectrum, and in some cases we're on way different ends, and we come at it with respect, factual evidence. If we don't have facts, we call each other out. And when we eat dinner afterward, and I was like, this is how Congress should function. This is how people normally should function, because we look like we're fighting, but we're not. We're always seeking to push each other. And so we'll have these like very, very intense conversations that never are disrespectful, never are hateful, never are personal. And they always end with some type of knowledge. And I think
I can't say ours is always not disrespectful, but
your
you would
best
be
of
shocked
friends,
to know that everybody on this particular group chain is highly, highly successful as a worker, as a parent.
Yeah.
They were as athletes, and you would never be able to think that people with this much polish would be able to act so childish.
Well, listen, you gotta have your.
We have a lot of laughs. We have a lot of laughs, and that's the most important thing.
Gotta have your moment. Shout out to Gary Barnaba, my teacher,
Coach B
at CBA,
Coach B,
good friend, and looks
the best,
almost exactly like my grandfather, my Papa Cavino. So shout out to Mr. Barnaba there
Coach
for me,
B.
then, now, and always. So rapid fire. I'm not going to put you on the hot seat at all. We got a couple minutes left. I'm going to let you put me on the hot seat because you've been so gracious with your time today at Cafe Kubal. We're in the podcast headquarters in Kubal Co-works. If you're looking to grab a place for your business, you want an office, maybe you don't want to rent out a full building or whatever it may be, you want to just have a little space for yourself to answer the phone, get away from the house, whatever it may be, especially for a lot of people working home and looking to find a different way for your business, you can call and get in touch with Kubal Co-works and come here, rent out a space, come and get the podcasting time up here and rent out some time up here where we are in the headquarters. And of course, you can grab your coffee right downstairs at 208 North Townsend Street in Syracuse at Cafe Kubal's location right here with Kubal Co-works. And of course, you will see Cafe Kubal with me over my shoulder every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, as they are our studio partner on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora at all times. And their locations on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, back in Golisano's Children's Hospital, and in Manlius at 343 Fayette Street. So, with all of that being said, I'm going to put myself on the hot seat. You can ask me any 3 questions. You got a trio, anything in the world, but you've been so great with your time, and our friendship means the world to me. So, Jason, I will now sit myself on the hot seat and let you ask away.
Okay. What's your favorite meal to eat at any restaurant in Syracuse? Name of the restaurant and favorite dish.
Oh, man. This is so hard. I feel like, well, I don't order veal anywhere, and when I do, there's only one place I order veal, and I get the veal Parmesan sub, and that's at Avicoli's because it's awesome. It's very hard to do veal the right way. And, well, at least I think so. And my grandma used to make it, my dad's mom, and that was all I ever had was her veal. So I would say that. I want to pick something else, too. So, favorite meal that I would go out for. I love seafood. I'm trying to think of where I really, really like seafood. That's a tough one. I feel like part of me was born in the South because I just like, it's so easy down in the South to pick a seafood place. I don't know here if there's a seafood place. You know what's really good? There's a place out right by Alex Bay called Foxy's. That place is good, and I brought my mom there for her birthday, and you can drive your boat up and dock it and eat right there and watch the sunset, and there's little island areas right by the Thousand Islands. So I would say Foxy's. It's like an hour or so drive from Syracuse, but it's worth it.
Okay. Where were you during the Syracuse 6 overtime win versus UConn? Because if you're really from Syracuse, you know exactly where you were. I was at the game.
Yeah, you were at the game. I was
till 1:30 in the morning. I could not get into the Blarney Rock across the street. That's how epic.
Look at you.
That thing was.
I was working at ESPN in Scranton, so I was with my buddy Ross, one of my brothers, one of my closest of dearest of friends as well. And Ross and he came over. He wasn't going to come over that night, and it was right after I graduated college. So I had moved back, got my first apartment. And I was living in Dunmore, Pennsylvania, which is right next to Scranton.
Right where I met my wife.
Yeah, I know. We talked about it. Yeah. Yep. So I'm in Dunmore. I'm living there. And Ross and he helped me through a really, really hard time in my life. And he was like the one friend that was there more than anybody. And with him.
My wife's chiming in.
Oh, nice. I love it.
Scranton.
So I know Dunmore. I bet you she knows the street I lived on. I lived right by the Rita's. That was by Marywood University. I could walk to Rita's and get their gelato. But, so...
Jerry Kelly, Lafayette High School. He was in the Blarney Rock that night. I knew you'd get in there, Jerry.
Yeah, you got to know people. So Ross, he helped me through a really hard time after college, and we hung out almost every day. But that night, he was really tired. Very rarely were either of us tired. We're night owls. And he's like, I'm tired. I don't think I'm going to come over tonight, but I'll see you tomorrow. And then he decided last minute to come over. The game started at like 9. And so the game's going. The shot goes by Devendorf, and he jumps up on the scorer's table. And I'm like hoping it's good, but you knew that it wasn't. I remember I think I threw a water bottle at one point, and then he said, all right, I'll stay. I'll stay for the overtime, then I got to go to bed. And then it kept being like, all right, I'll stay for the next one. All right, I'll stay. And then at 6 overtime, he looked at me and he goes, at this point, I might as well just watch the sunrise. Like it was 1:20, 1:30. And so I was with one of my closest of friends, one of my best friends, and we watched that game together. And I could tell you that I'd rather be nowhere else because that moment with him and just being able to watch it, and we were in Jerry's home of Scranton, Pennsylvania, was pretty cool. So
we were in our my buddies and I, our thing before this golf trip that I mentioned morphed. We used to go to the Big East tournament every year.
Yeah.
And my one buddy.
Did you go the last year that they were in it?
I was not. We were
that's
playing.
That's the year I went with
playing.
MSG. Yeah.
We were playing still. But
okay.
Anyways, my buddy, my close friend Adam, he was rocking a Christoph Ojanov jersey.
Number
which
12.
There's no way you can find. No, he was 30-something, wasn't he?
No, he's number 12.
12?
Yeah.
Well, he was definitely Christoph.
I promoted Christoph Anjanov all the time.
For some reason, out of every player that we've watched since the 1980s,
yeah.
all the way through the Big East, the old school Big East in the 80s, my buddy Adam was in love with Christoph Ojanov.
Yeah.
Had this jersey, rocking it, leading the LGO chants in the 300 section of the Garden.
I love it.
So, but anyways.
That's pretty cool.
I digress.
That's pretty cool.
All right, we got time for one more, right?
One more, yeah.
Okay. Now we're not promoting gambling here, but you got $1 million you got to put on a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything you own.
Okay.
Who do you want to coach the game? Any sport. One coach.
Oh, my God.
You lose $1 million if they lose. Who's the coach you're choosing? I'm sure the listeners have stuff they would chime in with.
Oh.
One coach. Who's the guy you want coaching your team in a one-game situation?
Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, or Dabo Sweeney.
No, one guy.
Well, I'm going by sport. So college,
No. Just
one guy. That's it.
Who's the best coach in sports? That's what I'm asking you.
Gosh,
Who is the
darn it.
best coach in sports? You got to pick one guy to win a game. Who's the guy?
Probably Nick Saban.
Okay.
Probably Nick Saban. Yeah, I love Dabo.
You are a Dabo guy. You've always said that to me. You're
I
consistent.
am. I am, and I got to ask him about.
But your thing
faith
with
and
him is a combination of
everything.
But
like Nick,
which is fine. I'm just saying. I'm just talking pure.
Nick Saban.
Okay.
It would have to be Nick Saban, and I mean, I thought of John Wooden. I thought of Dean Smith. I thought of, there's just.
Well, Dean Smith was the only coach that ever held Michael Jordan under 20 points per game. You know that, right?
Yeah,
That's the common.
Yeah.
That's the common thing with him.
But I think for me, I couldn't, there's because I know people are probably looking at the saying like, Dan, why not Boeheim? It's because Boeheim, because he's so stubborn in the 2-3. I think they would have won more championships if he ad-libbed more, because like Izzo and Roy and all those guys did, and Coach K. So that's the one thing that I would say is like 1,083 wins, but could have been like at least 2 more championships. I don't know. I guess I would have to say Nick Saban, but I've never been asked that question before when you can put them all together, and that's a really, really good thing. If Coach Leone isn't available, it goes Boeheim, then Belichick. So,
Bob Honnold.
I like that.
And Bob and I have a lot of great debates. He's excellent with probably the best out of all the people I know that come up with research to refute anything that I say that I think is smart.
That's what Evan does. But I will tell you that the way your trajectory and the way that you're going, I hope that you go down as like one of the greatest coaches ever in D3. Like I legitimately want you to be like that guy that people are like trying to play from all over the country. I do.
I appreciate that.
I think you can get there. I know you can. I don't worry about it. I remember our first conversation of your first tournament, of you calling me in the snowstorm, and like and we chronicled you through the whole thing. And as you made it, I think that was a Sweet 16 year, the first one. And so when you made it and when you kept moving forward, we would talk. There'd be like a day in between the game. You'd have like an hour or two, and I'd get you on and we'd do the show. And I kept just like doing everything we could to get you on there. And I remember it snowing and it was crazy, and you came back to Oswego. Like some of the greatest moments of every coach and over 2,000 people being on the show, one of the greatest moments ever in my life was that first trek of following you and you allowing me access to literally feel like I was on the road with you the whole time.
That was awesome, man. Yeah, I remember that exact thing. That was cool. So, well, when I first moved back here, it's like, the program had success.
Yeah.
But one of the things that this has morphed into is little by little every year, we've got more and more people taking notice locally. Obviously, you were the first one that has really given me sort of a platform to get people excited about Oswego State basketball. Yeah. Stephen Fonte has been great to me over the years. Him and our fathers coached our youth basketball teams together.
Yeah.
And Steve and I have remained friends, and he's been great about when we do great things. He gives us publicity.
Yeah.
Mike Waters has been unbelievable. And I probably shouldn't mention names because I don't want to leave anybody out, but the 3 of you guys have really been unbelievable. I met Mike Waters on a plane, and then on a bus ride, a shuttle service that the NEBC provides out at Minneapolis 3 years ago. We've stayed in touch, and he's been unbelievable, And anyways, it's that part of it. I'm not a huge draw attention to the pro, but the reality is we're doing some awesome things.
Yeah,
We've done some awesome things, and not for the recognition piece, but for players in the area, for high school coaches in the area to understand, if my player is just not quite good enough to get that scholarship, or he's at a scholarship and wants to transfer home, you can have an incredibly meaningful experience playing for us at Oswego.
I'm going to say something on this show today, April 20th, 2021. I'm going to say it today, and I want you to play this back when it happens, and I want you to remember this because I'm going to remember it. Oswego State, you will win a national championship.
Oh my goodness gracious!
They will win a national
I
championship.
don't know about that, but
You will win a national
We're going to
championship.
try.
You
we'll
will.
try. We'll try.
Oswego
That's
State will win a national championship.
fairly far fetched, but you
Those
never
are
know.
my words.
I hope so.
Those are my words.
I hope so.
You don't have to
I hope
hold
you're
him
right.
to them. They are my words, and I believe it. You are very close to getting to that Final Four, and once you get there, the world is open. So I'm going to bank on you guys.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it. Jason Leone, Oswego State Lakers men's basketball head coach, myself, Dan Tortora of Wake Up Call. Find us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt and wakeupcalldt.com's homepage. Go to wakeupcalldt.com and bookmark it for everything you need. We have shows all the way back to 2012, all of our videos, over 450 articles, and you can get to know companies like Cafe Kubal and support local and support our community on there as well. And of course, you're watching on facebook.com/livenowdt, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. All of our channels, like them, connect with them, subscribe to them, and Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. In the meantime, as we always tell you here on the show, God bless, no stress, do your best. For Jason Leone, I'm Dan Tortora. For Matt Goddard and the incredible team at Cafe Kubal, continue to come out and help them out here and support local. And we look forward to talking with you soon. And I look forward to the day that I get to shake your hand on the stage when the confetti comes down. I'll talk with you soon.
Thanks, buddy.